Arizona Wildcats finally ended their 20-game losing streak. We are going to dive into what that felt like for the Wildcats and their fandom and so much more about the Arizona Wildcats and their future, all on today's episode of Locked On Pac-12 podcast.
You are Locked On Pac-12, your daily podcast on the Pac-12 Conference. It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another episode of Locked On Pac-12 podcast. Thank you for making this your first listen of the day. We are free and available on all platforms. I'm your host, Cindy Robinson, former Pac-12 student athlete. And today joining me is Locked On Wildcats host, Michael Luke. No one other than I would love to have on this show with me today, because Michael, I told you, the moment was coming. They were not going to go this season without winning none. There's got to be at least one. And that happened this weekend. And I told you there was a good chance it would happen against Cal. You were against it. You didn't believe me, and I had more faith than you did. But I will say it was great to see the Wildcats get their first win of the season, but also in the last two and a half seasons or so. For you, covering the Wildcats, being a Wildcats fan, what was that moment like?
Oh, it was awesome. It was fantastic. Watching Arizona, you take the little things for granted after when you lose 20 straight games. And you know what? Just seeing the enthusiasm that was there in those young men's, hearts, everything like that. And just to see him get off the schneid like that, it was fantastic, Cindy. It's hard to put it really into words. It seems like it shouldn't be that big of a deal, but it was a huge deal. And that's what was cool about it.
Yeah, I'll say the fans looked super hyped. They rushed the field. It was a home game. It was homecoming. Was it?
Yeah, it was homecoming.
So I feel like there was no better time for that to happen. A great first win for Jedd Fisch as the head coach for Arizona. And then on top of that, okay, technically, I heard them say this on the broadcast. Technically, he is undefeated against Cal as far as his coaching goes.
1-0, 2-0 actually from his time at UCLA. Good call.
Exactly. He was an interim coach at UCLA, and they beat Cal then. So it seems like he has a good track record against Cal. But let's talk about that game. I will say it wasn't necessarily the prettiest. Offensively, there were issues on both sides for Cal and Arizona, and the only lone touchdown came from Arizona, and that's technically what won the game. But for you, looking at the game, what went wrong? Because they were 0-0 going into the half, and then each had a field goal and were tied going into that fourth quarter.
I thought Arizona was going to lose. I thought that there was going to be a situation where, like on the sideline that basically you had a sideline interference, then you had an unsportsmanlike penalty, then you had, and I'm like, oh gosh, this is how Arizona's going to lose this game on this. And then they forced a turnover. Then they forced a 3-and-out after that, and then they marched right down the field.
Yep. Yeah, I will say, I saw some great moments from the names we are typically seeing them from, right? Stanley Berry-Hill. You heard Anthony Pandy's name a few times. Like, it's the same names we've been talking about, the same ones that we expected to stand out if anybody was going to stand out on the team. I wonder for them what it feels like to sit in this moment, and if it just invokes more confidence going forward into the rest of the season. We know that they won't be able to be bowl eligible with the record that they have right now, and so they don't have much to look forward to postseason. But as far as moving forward through the rest of the season, do you feel like that confidence, from this game will help?
I think it will. I think it 100% will. I think that with, going forward, you get a win, you get that monkey off your back. And how do I put this? You've got a team coming into Utah. You've got a team coming in Utah that is going to, that's probably going to smoke Arizona. But you don't have to go into the offseason now knowing that you're on a 25-game losing streak. And I think it allows you to play with a little bit more. I think it allows you to play with a little bit more gusto there.
Yeah.
So they're that to me is just being able to cleanse the brain a little bit there.
Yeah, I get that. Giving them kind of a fresh start and a new outlook on the season and what they've been trying to work and accomplish. Definitely, I think we'll see the difference in their games moving forward. Coming up next, we will dive into a game preview of Arizona versus Utah. We talked a little bit with Brian Brown from Locked On Utes yesterday about that matchup, but I want to get Michael's opinion before they do their crossover and talk about the game as well. So yes, but for all my college football fanatics, I need to let you know about PrizePicks. It's daily fantasy made easy. PrizePicks is actually the leader in college sports daily fantasy. They offer more college football props than anyone in the world, and they offer all the star players of the Power 5, as well as mid-major players you might have never even heard of. PrizePicks offers any prop you can think of, from yardage to touchdowns, even interceptions thrown. All of the users that deposit and use your promo code Locked On will receive 100% instant deposit match up to $100. That's promo code Locked On. You basically pick 2 to 5 players and over and under on their projections, and then you can win up to 10 times on any entry. It's just you versus the projected numbers. PrizePicks allows mixed sports entries, so you can take the over on LeBron, combine it with the under on Mahomes in the same entry. Use the award-winning app on both the App Store and Google Play. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's literally that easy. PrizePicks is safe and offers fast withdrawals. So don't hesitate. Check out prizepicks.com and use promo code Locked On. Make sure you go to the App Store and download the app today. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. And shout out to you, the listeners, for making Locked On Pac-12 podcast your first listen of the day. We are free and available on all platforms. Okay, so Michael, we're talking about Arizona getting their first win and how they're hoping, I'm sure, to carry out that momentum in the rest of the games that they have left for the season. Their next matchup is against a really tough team in Utah. Right now, Utah is leading the South, dominating, honestly, in their games. They just had a huge win over Stanford where they held Stanford to just 7 points. So for you, I know you already mentioned this. You feel like Arizona's going to get demolished. But do you feel like, because of what we've seen from Arizona all season, that they're actually going to give Utah a run for their money, and this could very well be a trap game for Utah?
No, I don't think so. I'd love for it to be, but I think Utah is just too big, just too physical. And I think that when Utah, anytime you can just say, we're just going to run right at you, anytime we're just going to run right at you, that's something that Arizona is pretty much not going to be able to stop. And so again, it's I look at it and I say to myself, how can Arizona stop this? But when you can't stop the running game, you're not going to be able to stop anything going on there. And that to me,
go ahead. I was saying, so would you say that's like their biggest red flag going into this game, not being able to stop the run game? Because we do know that Utah's run game right now is playing phenomenally. They've had, in the last game, they had 3 players rush over 100 yards in Tavion Thomas, TJ Pledger, and Mekhi. I forgot his name. I think it's Gardner, but it's Mekhi, not Micah. I found that out yesterday from Brian. But so do you feel like that's probably going to be their biggest hurdle that they have to get over in order to be competitive in this game? Okay.
For sure. And that's going to be the biggest problem, is that I just don't know how they're going to stop the run game. And if you can't stop the run game, then there's nothing that you can do about it. And I think that's the problem that Arizona is going to have, because Utah's very, very straightforward there, and that they're going to run the ball right at you. And Arizona, while they've shown improvement defensively, I think Utah's just a different animal entirely.
Okay, that's fair. Gonna be realistic here. We're excited about the win, but we are gonna be realistic. In that win, though, I do want to talk to you about what you felt like Will Plummer did well and maybe still needs to work on in that quarterback position. We've seen kind of like a revolving door when it comes to your quarterbacks in this season. And so to see Will Plummer be the one, leading the charge in this win, what were your thoughts about his play and his performance? The long side tells you everything you need to know.
He wasn't very good. I mean, They got the win, but Will Plummer played better against USC than he did against Cal, certainly. But I think at this stage in the game, it's fair to say Will Plummer isn't the guy. Arizona basically won because the defense was able to keep them in the game. Other than that, I don't know. Other than that, I would look at it and say to myself, how exactly are you going to be able to stop that? How exactly are you going to be able to, how do I put this? Go forward with a quarterback situation that just isn't sustainable. I mean, you watch it and Cindy threw for like 70 yards or something like that. That's just not going to
come. Okay, but here's something that I've continued to notice throughout their season. When it comes to Arizona's play, they play up to the potential of the teams they're playing. And I know you hate to be that type of team because it doesn't really bode well for your success. But when it comes to playing tougher opponents, you see a very, I'd say harder fought game from the Wildcats. Like when they played USC, when they played Oregon, when they played, who did they also play? I'm missing one. Where the team that they played really? Oh, UW. When they played those teams, the teams that we expected to, completely dominate and like shut them out, they gave them a run for their money. And when they played teams like Cal and Colorado, you see a lot more struggle and almost as if like they don't believe that they can be the more dominant team. Mm-hmm. And they strive more off of being the underdog.
Right. Then, yeah. So I just don't think that I don't think that this is a team that right now is just talented enough, to be honest with you. I think that they can cover up a lot of warts. I think that they can cover up, some lack of talent around there, Cindy. But when you just don't have the horses in the trenches, game in and game out, you can beat a crummy team like Cal where you got 24 players missing, but Colorado is literally the only team, or excuse me, California is literally the only team they could probably get because they had 24 guys missing to COVID.
Okay. So it was in your eyes, it was a semantic situation.
Correct. Yes. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is.
Michael is
situation, but you'll take the win either way.
Right. I was going to say a win is a win. We're not going to, can't fully diminish what they worked for and how they were able to, because at the end of the day, they were still doing their job, Again, I probably would have expected more, especially looking at how they played SC, but just the weekend before, but whatever it took to get the win, they did it. Proud of the Wildcats. They're not going into this season, into the off season with another year of no wins. And so there's something they can build upon. Mm-hmm. Coming up next, Michael and I will talk about what Arizona will be building upon for their future and for the future of this program. I'm really excited to see Michael's thoughts on what's to come in Tucson. I had to think about where it was. I was going to say Tempe for a minute. For all you out there, BetOnline.ag is back and better than ever with a new web interface for the start of the basketball season and more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the basketball and football action this season. So head to the new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use the promo code LOCKEDON to receive your bonus. From basketball, football, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games, Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline is where the game starts. Okay, Michael, so this is Jedd Fisch's first year as head coach, which means every player up under him was already here. He had no hand in recruiting them. It was really just, walking into a situation and being handed players to work with. This next season will be the first season that he has some that he can work with. I'm sure he'll still have a lot of players, obviously, that are still, not from his recruiting class. And that'll be for a few years where it's just fully his recruiting class. But what can you tell me about what you expect for the future of Arizona Wildcats?
That's a great question. They got to find a quarterback. If they don't find a quarterback, we'll be right here next year at this time talking about the same situations. And honestly, the defense has been good. The defense has been much better, I think, than people expected. But at the same stage, though, this is also something where, if you don't have the quarterback, it doesn't matter. It's kind of like, in anything else, if you don't have the most important position in sports, it doesn't matter. And hopefully Noah Fafita or Jordan McLeod can maybe be those guys, because right now, Will Plummer, Gunnar Cruz, they're not those guys. They try hard, but every time you hear somebody say in an athletic endeavor that so-and-so tries hard, that's not really a ringing endorsement that they're doing well at what they're supposed to be out there. It's kind of a little engine that could.
Yeah. Okay. So what are your thoughts on Jamari Joyner then? Because we've seen him a little bit this season.
I love Jamari Joyner. Since he was, I've followed Jamari and I'm pretty close with his family since about 7th grade. And I would give him more reps out there. I really would. I would let him run around. I would let him see what he can do. Because again, maybe he's not the answer, but I know that the other guys right now aren't the answer. I would let Jamari play, and I wouldn't just have him in Wildcat packages. I would let Jamari go out there and play in the capacity that I think he could probably play in, because he can't do worse than 70 yards passing a game. I just refuse to believe that.
I know. You're not going to let that one go at all, huh?
No, I am not. I will not.
Okay, so moving forward, we've talked about how this was going to be a rebuilding year for the Wildcats, and we expected it. It's been exactly that. I do think we've seen some bright spots from the Wildcats, but we've seen some lows, obviously. Do you feel like the building will just continue next year and this will be some years in the making type of thing? Or is there hope for the Wildcats to turn it around and be competitive next year?
No, I don't think so. I think that they can win 4 games, but I don't think, as far as like a winning record or anything like that, I don't think that that's the case. Okay. Right. I don't think that that's really the case at all, just because I don't think the talent's there. And this isn't like basketball where you bring in 3 or 4 guys and then all of a sudden you're ready to rock and roll. That's not going to be the case. This is going to be a long time rebuild right here. This is going to be a 3 or 4 year rebuild.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I love Michael Luke's bluntness. He's always going to give it how it is. He doesn't sugarcoat because it's his team. He does not care. He's not like me. I'm delusional when it comes to the Cougars at times. Okay. Because I'm trying to stand strong on that. Obviously, the Wildcats are not in contention for anything going on in the Pac-12 South, but basketball is right on the corner, and I'm going to let Michael Luke decide if he wants to give his Luke's lock for football or basketball.
All right, Luke, I got a Luke's lock for football that I think I like Utah to cover the 19 points or whatever it is this week. I hope I'm wrong, but I think that game's going to be like 38-7, something like that. There's my Luke's locks.
All right, you heard it here first. When it comes to basketball, Michael, I know you're super excited. The season's getting ready to start. We talked a little bit about it last week, so going forward, we will start incorporating more basketball talk because it is here now. It is official. Season starts this week. And the Wildcats, we expect to be very competitive in the Pac-12 and in the whole college basketball system, right? Like, we expect to see them in the tourney come March.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. 100%. I think that you will see that team in the tourney, and I think that they're going to be a higher seed. I think they're going to be a 5 or a 6 seed, something like that.
Okay. Well, you heard it here.
Mhm.
Thank you for joining us, Michael. Per usual, we love
Always.
your takes on the Wildcats and everything going on there. You guys can keep up with Michael's commentary, analysis, and everything about the Wildcats on Locked On Wildcats. It's on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcast. And then you can follow Locked On Pac-12 on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcast. Also, like, comment, subscribe on the YouTube channel. We are giving you more ways to listen, watch the content. So make sure you're tuning in and commenting and checking it all out and engaging with us. You can also follow along on Twitter at LO_Pac12 and then LO Wildcats. And you can follow Michael at Iron Mike Luke and me at _Cindy Robinson. And then, thank you so much for making this your first listen of the day. Go ahead and make one of the other conference shows your second listen of the day. There's a Locked On SEC, Locked On ACC, and Locked On Big 12, giving you all the news you need to know about their conferences. Other than that, thank you for tuning in, and make sure you continue to stay locked on Pac-12 on the Locked On Network.